royal author and Prince Harry's biographer Angela Levin. And if you thought the royal race row scam had finally been forgotten about, think again. Rumours now circulating that Harry and Meghan's mouthpiece, Omid Scobie, is set to reveal the name of the alleged person in his new book. Remember, claims an anonymous royal family member disparagingly pondered the skin colour of Harry and Meghan's new baby were first cooked up by the pair in their infamous Oprah interview. But Angela Levin, since then, Harry had to admit, oh, no, we weren't talking about racism and we only meant unconscious bias, and they had to say, oh, no, we weren't talking about the Queen, the late Queen and Prince Philip. So we know there's only a very small pool of people. I know who it is. I'm not going to name it because, let me tell you, Angela, this person is not racist. They totally took some very innocent comments out of context. And so I think it would be very bad if Scobie went down that path.
Yes, but actually what's interesting is that people won't really believe it anyway. I mean, there's been a load of black people who've come up and said, what is she talking about? This shows that she doesn't really know what it's like to be black, because we all talk about that. We all talk about what colour the child would be, just as you might say what colour their hair might be. It's absolutely not racist, and this is them using it to get publicity. So I think there must be at least about 15 that I've read who's been saying that. So I think that people won't have the same shock horror. And also we now know that it was before they were married and somebody mentioned something like that. So she wasn't even pregnant. So it's very weird. And Harry, it was said to Harry, not to her. I mean, she just came in because here was a good opportunity to be a victim. But otherwise, I think that it's just a nonsense. I think people are fed up with it. And what's really annoying and hypocritical for a change is the fact that they said they're not going to talk about the royal family anymore, they're not going to say these things, they're not going to be nasty, they're just going to be behind cameras and all that sort of stuff. And here they are, 5 minutes later, technically 5 minutes later, saying all these things which is actually, they hope, cause a lot of harm. They're incorrigible.
Could he face legal ramifications if he suggested that there was a person, given that even if he doesn't call them the royal racist, if he suggests that they made the comments, would it be possible?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, libel is there, but I wouldn't know exactly what makes a libel event and what doesn't.
And I guess
the fact is, I think that they want to...
Yeah.
It's all about destroying, isn't it? It's all about being negative. It's all about making the public hate our royal family. They've been at it for 3 years and they're still not satisfied.
Well, look, breaking tonight, Angela, news that Harry and Meghan were sensationally denied a ride back to America with Joe Biden on the US presidential plane Air Force One after the late Queen's funeral last year. That request snubbed by the White House. And apparently, Angela, the White House thought, we can't do this because it will really upset relations with the new king. And so it does show, doesn't it, where their priorities lie.
Well, I should think so too, actually. I mean, you can't compare people who are no longer royals, haven't got any stand in America. They're just ordinary people, so why should they? But another problem, a small problem there, was people can't use the plane without somebody paying for it. And who was going to pay for it? Was Biden going to pay for it? Was Jill Biden going to pay for it? Would they ask Harry and Meghan to pay for it? Oh, no, of course not. The whole point is what they wanted. The Queen is dead. Here is people walking up into the plane, the next generation, and look how much they're loved by the Americans. What arrogance.
And it's not just a reality, is it? Because these reports emanating from the New York Post and the credible Page 6 column, suggesting that Harry and Meghan are fast sailing towards financial hardship after the string of business failures. And actually, the source describes their life in Montecito as a living hell and paints a very unhappy picture. So do you think we can now say that actually this proves that Megxit hasn't been a success.
Well, it hasn't been a success at all. It hasn't been a success because they can't quite grasp it because they've got no compassion. They talk to everybody else about having compassion, but they're just going through regardless, and you can't sort of do that. But actually, you know, we've all gone through COVID, we've all gone through the pandemic, we've all had huge gas bills, electricity bills. We're all having difficulty, and what you have to do is to cut your cloth and to manage on less money. I can't think for a second they need 16 bathrooms. You know, get down to a small place, but you can't do that because you're admitting failure. And it would be very difficult to do that. I mean, they're ridiculous. They haven't got common sense, in my view, about how you do that and how you dare complain when you spend £10,000 on a dress or you have, you know, top designers making you all sorts of things. You know, it's just so selfish and so introverted about themselves.
Now, Angela, rumours circulating that Harry has reached out to William and Kate about possibly moving back to London without notifying Meghan. Do we believe that?
I don't know how desperate he is. I don't know if they're still living together. You hear so many things that they're not. If he's living in a hotel and he's on his own and playing sort of teenage games, then he might need that. He might be desperate. He might want William to give him money, of course. William's now got billions.
Well, this is In Touch Weekly that has reported it, a US magazine. Let's be honest, they're not always right, but this is what their source told In Touch. Harry admitted he had phoned William to call a truce and told his brother he and Meghan would be open to going back to London, where they would serve King Charles. I just can't see
I mean,
that
I can't
happening.
imagine.
And apparently William didn't know what to say, but I just can't imagine Harry and Meghan doing that.
allowing that. I mean, Charles is very soft towards Harry, always has been, but I don't think he will. I think their popularity will go through the ground if they did that. We don't want them back. You cannot be so incredibly rude, so repugnant about the family and then say, well, can you have us back because we haven't got the money? And you can't trust them because they might saving any money that they earned and then tell another documentary, you know, and then start all over again and say, well, we tried it and it didn't work. I don't think Meghan wants to come back at all. Whether Harry comes back on his own, he will be at a very low state.
That's the problem, though, isn't it? Trust has gone.
Of course it's gone, because if you say something to them and he sells it on, also adds a few, you know, exaggerations or less, minimise what they're saying, pretend it's different, then, you know, you're just actually... You can't let people talk to you. That's why there's people in the royal family was saying, you know, the only thing we can talk about at the coronation is the weather. You know, that's about it. And so he was sort of left alone because you can't trust people like that. You can't even say anything about, oh gosh, isn't it hot in here? And then say, oh, they didn't like it. They were worried about the heating and it's you know.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, Angela Levin says doesn't want them back. Doesn't want the Sussexes back.
I don't want them back. I don't.
Harry's Vlogger, Angela Levin. Great to speak, Angela. Thank you so much.
Thank you.